Hello, my friends. Master Sommelier Peter Neptune here with a beginning of the month edition of my YouTube channel. And man, do I have something special for me and for you today. I acquired a half bottle of Chateau d'Yquem 2003. Some level 2 WSET students of mine, shout out to Deborah and Mike Corona, said in class, a store near where we live has 2 half bottles of 2003 Chateau d'Yquem Sauternes for $200 a bottle. Should we get it? And I said, oh my God, 2003 is a legendary vintage for Yquem. Yes, and she said, well, would you like a bottle? And I go, here's $200. Yes, please. Here it is. Look at the color of that baby. So 22-year-old Chateau d'Yquem Sauternes. And this is a one wine tasting today. It doesn't get any better than Yquem. And I'm thrilled to be able to taste this and share it with you and talk a little bit about this amazing chateau. The land has been around since the 16th century. We know that for a fact. And we think it was originally planted in 1711. Our friend Thomas Jefferson, who was the first U.S. ambassador to France, said that this was the best white wine in France. At the time, botrytis hadn't yet been perfected. They really didn't know yet how to make wine, although they had been making Tokai Azu for a few centuries before the 18th century. But they didn't quite have it down in Sauternes, so we don't think the wine was as sweet as it is today when Jefferson, but in the 1784 vintage, he bought 250 bottles. So he must have liked the wine a lot. And it's just under 300 acres of vineyard planted on gravel. So it's in Grave in the southern section, a little town called Sauternes. There are a few communes that can go into the production of the wine. They only use about 250 acres. So hectares, it's about 100 hectares to make wine. The remaining is replanted constantly and goes into their white wine, their dry white wine called Y de Yquem. The vineyard is planted to Semillon, 75%, a little Sauvignon Blanc, 25%. They do not use Muscadel, which is planted 5-6% in some of the Sauternes and Barsac vineyards. I don't know what to tell you. In 1855, when the classification of the Haut-Médoc and Sauternes and Barsac was created, Chateau d'Yquem was given the only one in Sauternes to be Premier Cru Supérieur. And they remain the only chateau with that designation. They're at another level. Yquem is eminently collectible. People who collect wine and can afford Yquem often have vintages. The wines can age for 100 years if the cork holds up. These are legendary. This is a legendary producer whose meticulousness knows no end. They harvest within an hour of being harvested. The grapes are brought in and pressed. And these grapes have been affected by botrytis cinerea, or noble rot, where a fungus attacks the grapes and begins to create holes in the grapes where the water inside evaporates out, and a biochemical change happens inside the grapes where the lactase enzyme, the oxidase enzyme, is liberated, making the wine that color. And the sugars and acids are concentrated. The water in the grapes evaporate out. The berries are all shriveled up. They look really weird. You would never think you could make wine from these things. And botrytazine is also injected into the wine, a kind of an antibiotic, which is why these wines have been used for centuries as medicine, prescribed to the kings and queens and princes by their doctors, wise doctors. So the grapes only yield 25% of the wine that they would have if you'd have picked fully ripe grapes. And so your yield goes way down. And Yquem goes through the vineyard in a series of tree or pickings. Yquem typically 5 to 8 pickings. In 2003, which was a very hot vintage, and there were some problems with red wines in that vintage, but Sauternes, it's legendary vintage because all the grapes ripened at the exact same time, and it was all perfect, and they all got attacked by botrytis at the exact same time. And you know, part of the legend of the 03 Yquem is that they went through in one picking. They didn't have to go through the vineyard in a series of three. They did it in one picking. It lasted about 5 days. They brought the grapes in within an hour. The grape was being pressed. They pressed 4 times, which actually yields better and better quality, unlike white wine. So they pressed 4 times. The must goes into new French oak barrels always. The fermentation takes place in new French oak barrels, which is very unusual for Sauternes. And you end up with a wine that typically is around 150 grams per liter of residual sugar, of insanely great quality, voluptuousness, texture. I mean, I've tasted Yquem more than a few times. I don't own a lot. It's very expensive wine to procure. I couldn't help buy this because $200 for a half bottle of 03 is almost impossible to find out there. There were wines aged for 20 months, topped up weekly to prevent oxidation. For purity of flavor and clarity, the wines are racked 15 times. And then a blind tasting takes place before the final blend goes into the bottle. Traditionally, Sauternes is paired with Roquefort, so I procured some Roquefort, and you gotta love this. This contains unpasteurized sheep milk, cheese cultures, and penicillium Roquefort. So we got double medicine going on here today, ladies and gentlemen, double medicine. And it says, from the caves of Combelou in southern France, Roquefort arguably is the world's greatest blue, which has been made and produced since 1411. 1411. That is just amazing. And traditionally, Sauternes and Roquefort is the combo. Salty, sweet. Sweet, salty. And good for you. It's medicine. It's medicine. So, we have a deep amber color here on the wine. We've got almost otherworldly intensity of aroma. Honey, burnt brown sugar, caramel, there's apricots, dried peaches, pineapple upside down cake, butterscotch, vanilla, saffron, which is a very typical botrytis aroma, ginger, blossom florals, acacia honey, toffee. There's a nuttiness here, brown butter. Oh my God, folks! God, I wish I could just put this right in your nose and have you smell this, because it's just unbelievable. What an aroma! I can't wait to taste this on the palate. So, this is lusciously sweet. It's almost impossible to describe the purity and extract of this wine. I looked it up. The 2003 is 147 grams of residual sugar and 14% alcohol. You wouldn't even know this has alcohol. It has high acidity. So that's what makes these wines amazing. As the grapes shrivel, the acids and the sugars are what's left. Almost all the water is gone. There's pulp with sugar and acidity. The finish is still here. We've got caramel and butterscotch and vanilla and pineapple and melon and apricot and peach, dried. There's dried apricot, dried peach. There's like a honeyed pineapple cake. There's a hint of banana here. There's ginger and saffron, which are very typical. There's a fungal character. It's like shiitake mushrooms. There's umami. This wine is super umami, super sweet, lusciously sweet. Finish is still going on, a minute and a half later. This is astoundingly great wine. It's perfect wine. I see why this is a legend. This wine will continue to age and improve for another 50 years. It's such a pleasure to have this wine in my mouth. Thanks to Deborah and Mike Corona for turning me on to this beautiful half bottle of wine. So now I'm going to take a bite of Roquefort and another sip, and this time I'll swallow. You can see this penicillin and the chunks here of what make this cheese so amazing. Oh, creamy, salty, intense, incredible texture. Watch this. I'm in heaven. The two combine in your palate to create an experience that's sublime. It's one of the greatest experiences in the world. You don't need Yquem to do this. There's some Sauternes out there that's, $30 a half bottle. But do procure some Roquefort, some Sauternes, make that your dessert for a wonderful evening with friends, and experience the joy and the joy of being alive, to be able to taste something this sublime in your palate. It's almost otherworldly. It's almost as if we've stepped into another universe. I'm so happy right now, I can't even tell you. Congratulations to Chateau d'Yquem. The 2003 vintage is legendary, and I can see why. It's almost impossible to really describe the way the wine feels on the palate. It's so lusciously sweet, so mouth-coating, that it's like I said, I'm almost at a loss for words. What? Peter Neptune at a loss for words? What's happened? Boy, this is one of the most enjoyable episodes I'll ever do. I get to now drink this over the next few evenings with some beautiful Roquefort cheese. It's worth every penny. In your lifetime, try to procure a half bottle of Chateau d'Yquem. Make it a Christmas wish, make it a birthday wish, make it an anniversary wish. Share it with your loved ones. It's an otherworldly experience, and one that you wine lovers should experience in your lifetime. I know it's expensive, but in your lifetime, if you can pull it off, try. Well, this is about as fun as it gets. You can see how much I still love wine, and this is as good as it gets. This is the 2003 Chateau d'Yquem Sauternes. We'll see you next time.